What's up? It's Cherith, the Starry-Eyed Tarot Reader. I'm a bit late on my video this week. I was doing some holiday shopping with my mom, so didn't get a chance to record, but I'm recording one tonight, or today, whatever. This is going great already. I am doing a video response to Rhiannon Rambles. This is Wanderlust decks. There are 12 sort of like questions or prompts. Basically what it is it's like different archetypes to do with like traveling and that sort of thing, and you pick out decks based on those categories. So the first one is the Backpacker, a deck that's adventurous, practical, and versatile. And for that, I chose the Sassorebido Tarot by Stasia Burrington. For me, I looked at this as like if you took a deck and turned it into a person, what deck would you see as a person who would like grab a backpack and just, take off across country or up into the mountains? And for me, that's the Sassorebido Tarot. It's a very sort of free deck. It's adventurous, but practical. I could just picture, like, if this deck were a person, just, grabbing a pack and just taking off into the middle of nowhere. Some provisions and a backpack and just taking off, hiking up a mountain or across the country. That is this deck to me. Alright, the next deck is the Cruiser, a deck that's relaxing, luxurious, and enjoyable. So I believe Rhiannon's video, the Cruiser, was more like people who ride cruise ships. I took it to mean like cruiser, like somebody that gets in like an RV and cruises across the country. And for this, I chose the Botanica Tarot by Kevin J. Stanton. The reason that I chose this deck is because, it's full of plants and crowns and ancient coins. Oops. It's got, the gold embossed back, the gold edges. It's just a luxurious deck. It looks beautiful, it feels beautiful in my opinion. And it's full of plants and artifacts, sort of things you would see if you were taking like an RV trip across a continent. It's just an absolutely beautiful deck, and because it's all plants, there's something very relaxing about it and enjoyable, especially with the guidebook to find out like the meanings, the type of plants and the meanings behind the plants. It makes it a lot of fun. The next category is the Road Tripper, a deck that's spontaneous, fun, and full of surprises. And for that, I chose the Outsider Tarot, the mini version by Bobby Abate, or Beatty, I'm sorry, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. The reason I chose this one, this is the mini version. This was like the Kickstarter special, so the mini isn't available anymore, unfortunately. But the reason I chose this one for the Road Tripper is because of my own personal experience with this deck. I actually took this deck on a solo road trip that I did to Seattle a few years ago. I like taking like mini decks with me on road trips because they're small and portable, and they're easy to read when you're like in a hotel room or in a Airbnb or VRBO or whatever, wherever you stay. Or if you stay, in an RV or in your car. They're great. They're small, they're portable, easy to read, easy to take around. And this deck for me is it's very spontaneous. It's definitely full of surprises. Even without the chunky guidebook, the way that Bobby has designed this deck and the symbolism in here, I find it makes me think about cards, traditional tarot cards, in a different way. So definitely full of surprises. The next category is the Explorer, a deck that's curious, daring, and open-minded. And for that, I chose 8 Coins Tattoo Tarot. Let me zoom back out here. This is the 8 Coins Tattoo Tarot by Lana Zellner. The reason this actually surprised me when I came across this tag and saw that category, this was the first deck that came to mind for this. It's a curious deck. Very, very curious feeling to it. It's daring, it's open-minded. This is a beautiful deck. It's one of the first decks I ever got. Yeah, very much an explorer, researching different talk. Just like this deck were a person, be the kind to like go to points of interest on a road trip, or find the like strangest point of interest in like a town or something, do a bunch of research on it. It's kind of what I think of when I think of an explorer. So that's this deck, the 8 Coins Tattoo Tarot. And then we have the Tourist, a deck that's popular, accessible, and well-known. And for that, I chose Chris Ann's Light Seers Tarot. Kind of don't need a whole lot of explanation for that, in my opinion. This is a popular deck. A lot of people have this deck. It now comes in a mini size, and a lot of people have that. It's accessible. It's very well known. And it does feel a little touristy. I say as I show the cards that a lot of people call like the Coachella cards. I do like this deck though. I've read for my mom at least once or twice, and I really like how it's easy to read. It's easy to get the messages, and it's accessible. Like, she doesn't know a whole lot about tarot, but she can look at the cards with me and get the message. Oh, one of my favorite cards. So that's the Tourist deck. The next category is the Local, a deck that's authentic, familiar, and close to home. And for that one, I actually chose the Tarot Disassembled by Jennifer Cooper Stadley. And the reason I chose this deck is because this creator actually lives in my neck of the woods, which when I found that out, I thought was pretty cool. And I find this deck to be very authentic. It's the traditional tarot broken down into symbols, and it feels authentic in that way. It feels familiar as somebody who's been reading tarot for a couple of years to see it, disassembled. So it still feels familiar and close to home in that sense. So that is the tarot disassembled. The next category is the Jet Setter, a deck that's glamorous, sophisticated, and worldly. And for that one, I chose the Weaver Tarot, the Journeyer edition, by Britt and Blair. And the reason I chose this one is because, I mean, it's all holographic features. It's glamorous, it's sophisticated. This is sort of deck that if it were a person, you could imagine them like sitting, probably not even first class, probably like a private jet with like a glass of champagne, jetting to fabulous Instagram-worthy places. Makes it sound kind of bad, but there's something very sophisticated and glamorous about this deck, which is why I think it's perfect for the Jet Setter. Ooh. All right, the next one is the Pilgrim, a deck that's spiritual, meaningful, and transformative. For this one, I actually didn't choose a tarot deck. I chose an oracle deck, the Wild Unknown Archetype by Kim Krans. I actually watched another video that they also chose this deck, and I was like, that's honestly pretty perfect. There's not, I mean, I do have decks that I would consider, I mean, I pretty much consider all my decks spiritual and meaningful, but this one just feels different. It definitely feels transformative. The way Kim Krans has put this deck together, I think, is absolutely stunning. I'm actually planning on working with this deck for a full year next year, and I'm very much looking forward to it. I think it's going to be very interesting. Haven't decided yet quite how I'm going to do that, but I'm going to be working with it for the whole year, so I'm excited to see what I discover. Alright, the next one is the Nomad, a deck that's free-spirited, independent, and worldly. And I chose the White Newman Tarot by Alba BG. And this one was pretty easy. This is pretty much the first deck I thought of when I thought of a Nomad. It feels very free-spirited to me. There's a bit of like a desert vibe to this deck that I think plays into that, for me, that feeling of a nomad. Someone that's not anchored to like one place. Kind of just go wherever the spirit takes them. And they're independent, think for themselves. They aren't really tied by convention. And that's definitely this deck. Alright, so the next category I actually renamed. The name that Rhiannon had for it was one that I've always taken to be a negative thing, but the way she described it I think fits better with what I would call GLOBETROTTER, a deck that's diverse, educational, and enriching. And for that one I chose the Tarot of the Divine by Yoshitani. This deck was gifted to me by a friend. I absolutely love it. It is folklore and fairy tales and deities from around the world. I recommend to people to get the the bigger guidebook. I think it's called Beyond the Moon. My friend got that for me as well, and I think it adds a lot that the Little White Book kind of misses out on. A lot more context to these stories and these deities and all the myth than the Little White Book gives. It's definitely diverse. I mean, these are stories from all around the world, myths and legends from everywhere. And I find it very enriching. I love this deck. All right, getting close to the end here. The next category is the Volunteer, a deck that's compassionate, helpful, and altruistic. And a lot of the videos I watched for this deck chose this deck, the deck I'm about to show you, for this category, and for good reason. And it's the Gentle Tarot by Mari in the Sky. I'm not sure you could get a deck that's more perfect for this category. This deck is definitely compassionate. I mean, Mari named it appropriately. It is very gentle. It is very altruistic. Yeah, compassionate, helpful, altruistic, all of those things. There's just something about this deck that is very much encapsulates a volunteer mindset, if I can put it that way. All right, the next category is the Solo Traveler, and that's a deck that's introspective, self-reliant, and empowering. This is another one that I really had, I instantly knew which deck, and that would be the Serpent Fire Tarot by Devaney Amber Wolf. This is a very powerful deck for me. It's definitely self-reliant. Whoops. It's a self-reliant deck. It's a little bit counterculture. It really just does its own thing. And again, if you were to make this deck into a person, I could imagine that person just, picking up and going anywhere by themselves. I would love to be that person, which is probably why I love this deck, why I connect with this deck. It, for me, has been a very empowering deck. And it's a little bit weird, it's a little bit trippy. It's definitely a solo traveler. All right, last category is the Dreamer, a deck that's imaginative, creative, and visionary. And for that one, I chose the Yokai Yochi deck by Bubo Plague. This deck is goddamn delightful. It's a bunch of these weird little monsters, but there's something that's so creative about the way Bubo Plague has taken these and incorporated them into the tarot. I mean, look at that. I remember when I first got this deck and I was reading to my dad, I was showing him the guidebook, because the guidebook says, it tells you all the little yokai, which are supernatural creatures in Japanese folklore. But I was reading him some of the entries, large rats that eat young kittens. and it was just really like going through this deck and reading these. He was just like, what is this deck? And I was like, it's weird, it's imaginative, it's a little bit creepy, a little bit cute, a little bit funny. It's definitely a dreamer. Oh, one of my favorite devil cards. Alright, so that was my video response to Rhiannon Rambles for Wanderlust decks. She created this tag over the summer. You know, people travel a lot during the summer. I decided to do it now because it's getting close to the holidays, so people are traveling to see family. Maybe they're traveling to be by themselves. There's a lot of traveling that happens during these months, at least, you know, in the United States. So I thought it was appropriate to do something a video to do with like traveling and wandering and all that sort of thing. So I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for sticking around and listening to me ramble. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and bye till next time.